The Chord Mode feature on Digitone 2 is maybe the most useful thing they've added for songwriters ever. And it's not just a songwriting hack, it's a powerful compositional tool. So today I want to talk to you about how it works, why I think it's so useful for artists, and then I want to give you a real life example of how I used Chord Mode to make this song. So getting started with the chord mode is really easy. We just do function and then we hit this button. Up comes our keyboard setup. If we take this dial right here and we pump it twice, we hit chord root. Any key we hit on here is going to give us the equivalent chord. So that's a C chord, that's an A chord. Now, we don't have to do it that way. We don't have to go C to A and have such a large tonal shift. We can also hang out in the same general tonal frequency space. If we go one over to the right, we become chord center. That's chord center mode. So C to A is no longer such a dramatic tonal jump like that. Let's say that we liked that A chord a little bit better when it had this kind of bright tonal quality. Well, we can change this A around by hitting either the plus or the minus. So we hit plus, it gets brighter, then the minus does the opposite. We're inverting the chords based on where we're changing the chord center. And we can also change our type of chords. So these have all been major chords. Now we're playing with minor, seventh, minor seventh. What makes chord mode so useful is you don't have to know theory. You don't have to have an idea of what you even want to do. You just start mashing buttons, emotions will come out, play those emotions off of each other, and create that satisfying cycle that a chord progression can give you, and use that as your kickoff point. Now, sometimes as a piano player, you want to have a much wider chord. You want to have a chord that has the brightness and the warmth. And so for that setting, we have chord spread, which is the exact same as chord center. The only difference is every other note is an octave up. And the exact same inversion properties apply just like they do in the chord center section. For folks who don't have as much familiarity and experience with musical theory, but they have a lot of instincts and they've listened to a lot of music so they kind of know what they want, this is a really wonderful place to bounce around ideas. And if you don't feel like you can get a grip on it, or you kind of want to focus the emotional criteria that you're looking for, that's where we can start messing with our scales. So right now we're in chromatic mode, but we can flip it. We have Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian. My personal favorite, the one that I like a lot, is harmonic minor. It's so fun to just move around in this space. Now, I promised I was going to explain how I used chord mode to create that song. Well, I went online and I found a random number generator and I said, hey, give me a number between 9 and 15. And the first number it gave me was 9. The other number it gave me was 15 and then 14. So I said, okay, how do these chords move between each other? Well, we have options for different chord shapes. So right now we're in the 1-3-5 shape, but we can do 1-2-5. Compared with the 1-3-5, it's a little more sad. There's a little more dissonance there. And I'm like, okay, that's a great place to start from. That doesn't sound good. Let's try some different shapes. By the way, I forgot to mention, this is how you change the different shapes by hitting the corresponding numbers up here. But back to what I was saying. So what happens when we throw this chord in? That's resolution right there. That's beauty. That's like peeking over the mountaintop. We've made it to the other side. We can see our destination, and then we go back to this chord. So this became my foundation for a verse. Another thing I forgot to mention, up here on the top right, we have this bass octave setting. So if we go down one, now it's just going to make our bass note be 1 octave lower. And that chord has a really nice tone now because it's got that lower tone and it's got that up high note. Okay, so that's our verse, but we need to have a chorus. So then I started moving around on the different places of the keyboard. I started playing around with the different shapes. And I like how pretty much all of these sound really good. But this is the chord that I found that I was like, ooh, I like that. So I was like, let's move it up one. All right, well, that might as well be a chorus right there, but where do we go next? It's like we're holding back our feelings a little bit. And then really letting out a nice cry. Then going back to this chord. And finally back to our verse. So now that I have the chords that I want, I could just record it and bounce around the different shapes as I play. And that's really useful that they set it up this way, but I don't want to do that. And Elektron knows that. That's why they created the final piece of this chord mode puzzle, which is the chord memory mode. So if you pump it over one more time, you end up in chord memory mode. And this is essentially a place where you can save your special chords in their shapes exactly as you want them. It's super easy. Just hit function plus yes, and it's gonna say, hey, we're waiting for those notes. Tell us what chord you wanna save. We already know what chord we wanna save. It's this one in this shape. And then we're gonna do yes for save. And then it's gonna ask us where on the grid do you wanna save that chord. Right there is fine, so I'm gonna hit yes. Now I'm going to do that for all the chords in the song. And now if we scroll over to chord memory, we can play all these chords. Then it was just a matter of inputting all the chords one after another in step record mode to create my entire song structure. And I built the beat around it, and it sounded like this.
Thank you for watching this episode where I use my fat fingers to explore the chord mode. Let's take a moment and talk. What did we learn today? Banging a couple buttons is all the work that it takes to make a fancy progression, man, it's easy as hell. All you need is to play in the right scale. It's so simple, and hey, you don't even need to practice. All you gotta do is finger button gymnastics. Randomly mashing chords, auditioning the different shapes. Function plus yes, chord memory save. The formula is yours, do with it what you wish. Thank you for hanging out, my name is Slumpfish. If y'all enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon. And on that Patreon, you can download the project file for this song as well as many more and more to come. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out. Y'all have a good one.